You know, although your Let It Be album mixes weren't released, your mix of Let It Be and Get Back were. And in actual fact, you were responsible for the rooftop performance, weren't you?
Yeah, I'm not, to be honest. Yeah, it was Ringo and I came up with it. I think it was probably my idea, but certainly Ringo took me up on the roof and showed me the roof, and
right.
we had a bit of a problem. Paul's original idea for Let It Be, as perhaps if you all know, is a very good idea actually. No one else has ever done it. Was to write a bunch of songs and record them live in front of an audience as a show. So it would be a live album of new material. I suppose there aren't that many artists that can get away with that really, but they could. It's slightly different. Anyway, so it was the middle of winter, and his idea was to go to Tunisia. There was some Roman amphitheatre in Tunisia or something, which obviously still exists. And he wanted to go there. He wanted to get a bunch of Beatles fans, stick them on a boat, take them to Tunisia, a bit expensive, and have them as an audience. And it would be a TV show. And the making of that whole process was to be a documentary. So we'd started on the soundstage at Checkenham Film Studios, rehearsing the material, and by the time, I don't know, 3 or 4 days later, every time we had a tea break or whatever, we'd discuss what was going to go on and what wasn't. And eventually it became apparent that the idea of going to Africa wasn't a flyer. Ringo said he wouldn't like the food. I seem to remember that, which I thought was quite funny. They're spending hundreds of thousands of pounds moving people around. They couldn't afford a chef to cook eggs and chips for Ringo. So the whole idea sort of got blown apart. And here we are, we got great songs being rehearsed. We've got a documentary film being made, but now we've got no end. So we decided to move into their office building. They just built a recording studio in the basement that was finished in the weeks that we were in on the soundstage. So we moved in there, carried on rehearsing, film crew, and I witnessed during this process something that I knew hundreds of thousands of people would love to be a fly on the wall for, which was these 4 guys sitting around playing live and joking and taking the mickey out of each other. With some of the time with Billy Preston, who'd called by and was asked to stay. And I thought, this is just remarkable. Now at this point, don't forget, we're cast back your mind to 1969. The Beatles were the biggest thing on. They couldn't go anywhere, and they were huge. They were on a monolith up here somewhere. And they'd already proven they'd made the most stunning produced records. They'd changed the rules. Just extraordinary stuff. And here they are, right back at the beginning, sitting around playing live. And it was great. It was even more great because they were who they were, obviously, and they'd achieved what they'd achieved. And I thought, God, this is fantastic. So I was recording everything and I'm playing so that they could see how they were getting on with the arrangements and everything. Anyway, one night I snuck away with the multitracks, went to Olympic and mixed everything we'd done that day and edited it together with a bit of chat and a false start here and somebody being rude to somebody else there. But all in good.
Save the Last Dance for Me.
Save the Last Dance for Me. Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff. Yeah. So, and I thought it was really funny, and I thought it was fantastic because it was showing who they really were. And so I took it in the next morning and I played it to them, and to a man they went, "Oh, don't be ridiculous! They don't want anything to do with that." And I kind of expected that. So we carried on, and we won't go on about the end of that, but we got to the end, we shot it, we did the thing on the roof, and then they went away to edit the film. And the guy who directed the documentary was a TV director, and he hadn't really paid attention, wasn't used to working with film. So it took a year for that film to be finished, because there was no continuity, it was a complete mess. And so we carried on, and we started Abbey Road, what was to become Abbey Road. Well, I was just doing sessions. Yeah. And then we kept taking breaks, and I got busy. I went off and did stuff here with Steve Miller and various people I can't remember. Right. And in the end, they went back into Abbey Road with George Martin and Jeff Emmerich, their engineer, and finished Abbey Road. And actually, this will sound like I'm being immodest, but in fact, I'm really glad they did, because what they did really was fantastic. I don't really remember what I did on that record. I did some of it,
right? Maybe
a third of it or something. But
yeah, because they had asked for you to come back from somewhere.
And then, okay, so then we finished Abbey Road. period of time goes by and I get a call from John and Paul. They asked me to meet them at Abbey Road. So I jump in the car and go up there. I walk in the control room and there's a pile of multi-track tapes. And they said, do you remember that idea that you had made us acetates of? So I said, yeah. So they said, well, we think that's probably the best way to do the record. And we'd like you to do it. And I went, well, that's fantastic, great. So I said, well, when did we start? And they said, well, we don't start. You're going to do it on your own like you did before. And I thought, well, that's fantastic. They've got all this confidence in me to go away and do this without them there. And in the car on the way home, I thought, hold on a minute. I realized it wasn't anything to do with that. They were bored rigid with it, and they weren't interested anymore. They'd lost interest, so they was quite happy to just give it to me to go away and do it, which was a bit disappointing, really. So it did get finished, and I did deliver it back to EMI, and then the band broke up. And it's well before it ever was talked about even being released. By now, Abbey Road's sort of well on the way. And then John Lennon came to America and formed a relationship with Phil Spector, which I always thought was a really, really strange combination of people. And he gave the tapes to Phil Spector, and who puked all over the bloody lot of them. And just awful, awful record now, I think.
Well, it is a great loss because those mixes were fantastic.
Well, it is available on a bootleg, apparently. But that's neither here nor there. Yeah.
I'm not responsible for it, but I do
you
have
do
a
have
copy
one, yeah,
of
right.
it. Because GLYN was, you were mucking around in the boot of your car. You were emptying the boot of your car.
And I found...
came across this mildewed tape box.
It was a 7.5 copy of my version of Let It Be,
Yeah.
That had been under the mat in my Bentley for God knows how long. It was covered in green mildew, exactly right, yeah. Anyway, there we are.
Yes, well, good man. I mean, if anybody has a chance to get that bootleg, don't tell GLYN about it, but listen to it. It's really good. It's really good because it's like a diary entry.